right, guys and girls, really happy, ecstatic, in fact, to have Nardia Norman for our very first FitWell podcast, webinar, however you want to term it. And so with these particular webinars, it's meant to introduce the speaker, the educator who is providing world-class content on the FitWell platform. And so that's really the essence of this, to get to know them more, their views, what they're about. And of course, you know, by getting to know them more, to sort of get you to explore their sessions on FitWell, but also beyond FitWell as well. And really, once you know the person and you know the educator, you'll be more inclined to pursue what they're about and what they can offer. So we bring the best of the best on the platform, we believe, in any case. And so to that end, wanting to introduce you guys to Nardia Norman. Welcome, Nardia, to the first podcast.
Hey. Yeah, I feel privileged being number one, numero uno.
Yeah, good on you, mate. We're happy. We're happy to have you as number one. Look, things have shifted, shaped, kind of, you know, according to what we say is the last 2 years of just really kind of rocked the boat in the industry. So tell us a little bit more about your story, maybe the last 2 years or even before that, just so the audience can know a little bit more about you as a person and how you've evolved as a professional.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the last 2 years certainly has been a massive transitional period of time for most people. And it was more so for myself as well, because I had a baby in 2020. So I had a COVID baby. And, you know, I had a very interesting experience as being pregnant through the entire COVID shenanigans. And so I had the dual challenge of raising a baby in that environment and also trying to juggle my business at the same time as it was changing in real time. Now, to give you some context, pre-COVID, I was doing a lot of in-person, face-to-face presenting with my courses, as well as doing group training sessions for a club here. And a lot of my business was built on going to conferences internationally and meeting lots of tons of people. And so, you know, in a very short space of time, that got taken away with me. And I had to, like everybody, hustle pretty quickly to change the look of what my education arm of my business was going to look like. And now that we've come out the other side, predominantly my business is built around delivering virtual online education for personal trainers, with a specific focus on helping trainers to understand the science of training women. So one of the big things to come out of the last 2 years has been the creation of the Training Women Academy, which is what I'm currently operating now at the moment. And, you know, that really only came about because of COVID. So there really was a silver lining to it. And the other part of my business is just really helping personal trainers to build better hybrid businesses. And obviously with COVID, that meant helping a lot of my FitPro clients to hustle really quickly to build out a hybrid business.
That's terrific. Some great qualities there. And what would you say would be the defining qualities, the character strengths that have enabled you to adapt, to evolve, not just to pivot, but to really transform yourself? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
I think, like, prior to COVID, the one thing that one of my core values in terms of my business coaching for FitPro clients, and the things that we focused on a lot, was ensuring that you had a hybrid business. Like, for the last probably 8 years, I've been shifting towards this idea of having a hybrid business. So that's a combination, this is my definition, a combination of in-person personal training, whether that's one-on-one small group or large groups, in conjunction with some sort of online or digital offering. So whether that's still fitness based, or whether that's like digital products or other or merchandise or something like that. My belief around personal training for now and the future is that to be an amazing coach and to have a profitable business, which you are more than entitled to have and deserve, is to create a business where it's strong. So that if you lose one revenue stream or something goes haywire, like we've just experienced, you're not going to fall over. And so I had kind of already my business was kind of like that anyways. So, and fortunately, most of my FitPro clients, they were the same. So they weren't really, they didn't get too hammered over that COVID period, which was amazing to see that. Like they really went under the hammer there, and they showed up, which was great. But I guess that and aside, so that really comes down to, I think, understanding systems and thinking about how you want your business to look long term.
Yeah.
And I guess part of that is, as a personal trainer, is to take your PT hat off and also start thinking like a business owner. Like, how can my business be robust in order to give me the lifestyle or the goals that I want going forward? And so I guess closely related to that is just having the ability to know, or having the skill set of knowing that everything is figure outable. So a lot of trainers, I think, kind of got really stuck because they couldn't figure things out. Like, you know, there was a lot of challenges around technology. How do I make this work? How do I shift my models? Like, you know, people were like really stuck, and that rendered them just like frozen. Versus if you have this concept and this idea that everything is figure outable, well, how do I make this work?
Terrific.
What questions do I need to ask? Who do I need to engage in? Like, that I see as a really strong skill set for a lot of trainers. And then probably last but not least is, and it's closely related, I guess, it's the idea of having grit and resilience. Like, you know, having that ability to keep going when you're losing clients, having the ability to keep going and showing up and bringing your A game when things aren't going so well for you. It's about being able to do the work day in, day out to get the result, and not just quit when things get hard.
Love it. Jeez, I've written all these just wonderful little knowledge bombs here. Figure outable. I want to pinch that from you. Actually, it's lovely. Figure outable.
Figure outable. There's a book by Marie Forleo. She's actually called Everything is Figure Outable.
So there's something for those to chase. That's terrific. Yeah, grit and resilience is definitely something we see being important. And as we stand now, and I've talked to lots of registered training organisations and people in the industry, in 2022, there's a trainer shortage. And I think what's happened is precisely those who are in the industry and came in the industry with good intentions to follow their dream, follow their bliss, left because of instability, perhaps from their perception, and went to other, you know, industries. So I think that's a bit of a problem as well, Nardia. And you've pointed out that two character strengths, grit and resilience, would definitely is the case. I've been in the industry for a long time, like yourself, and it undulates, you know. But I think, well, from my perspective, there's certainly been more highs than lows. But it's during those lows where we certainly need to call on our character strengths like grit and resilience that allow us to lift ourselves up, even in pandemics, right? So I think that's kind of interesting, thinking of the current context and the need for more trainers in the industry. So I think it's very encouraging, this particular point that you've made, which now segues me into your views, which we cherish, in terms of where do you see the future of ongoing education for fitness professionals heading?
Yeah, look, I think this is a really interesting question. You know, my entire Training Women Academy now is set up to deliver snack-sized or bite-sized pieces of education content to personal trainers who are time poor. And I think we've noticed that across the board that, you know, this is everybody's challenge: time and money. And so I think where we'll see education shifting is that education is going to become a lot more accessible to people. Like, I love in-person presentations. I love running workshops, but there's so many challenges attached to that for multiple different personal trainers: cost, time, leaving family. So this idea of being able to offer up digital or virtual or online education is amazing, right? So it overcomes all of those barriers. So I think if you listen or if you tune into what Anthony Robbins is talking about, or you see the stats around what's going to happen to the information space in the next 10 years, it's going to explode. It's going to be a multiple billion-dollar industry because people are shifting into that way of consuming information and education. So I'm a massive fan of it. I love it, which is why, you know, partly why I'm working with you guys, because I love, one, you guys, and also two, I love what you're doing. So it's about that accessibility for personal trainers. And now that I've become a mum, I really, truly appreciate how time is precious. And now that time is an issue for me, I really appreciate being able to watch education stuff that's of high quality in my own time and as I see fit. So really it's about education is now fitting people's lifestyles. Saying that though, the quality of education has to be higher because the consumer, the people doing the watching, are expecting more from the education. So it's not just okay to deliver a flat kind of presentation. People are now looking for interaction. How can they take key pieces of information and distill it and apply it straight away into their businesses? Is there a community aspect attached to that education? So it's building out a bit more.
Yeah, broadening and building off that concept's lovely, and yeah, lots of truth bombs there. I think I'd agree on that. In that, it needs to be more accessible, but of a high quality. Because YouTube has always been accessible, right? For example, but it's really differentiating and building that you said, that connection piece. And that really kind of, why would I want to, kind of join, Nardia's platform, or why would I want to come on board FitWell, for example? We'll talk more on that in a moment, but it's precisely that is giving them a good enough reason. And for us, for FitWell, it's bringing the best of the best like yourself. And I think you're right. I think it's the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. It's going, well, how can I really differentiate, between what this platform's offering versus that this other one that may be a better fit for me, right? So it's really discernment, I think, is another key.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that as well, because I think we don't have an information problem, we have a discernment problem where people don't understand or can't tell what education is going to be the best education for them. And one of the things that I try and promote within all my courses is, can this be used immediately in your business? If you're investing time and money in this resource, can you get a return on that in the next session? And that's what my aim is whenever I'm doing my presenting with you guys. I'm sure this is going to be the aim of all the presenters on here, is how can we make the information we tell you valuable and practical?
Yeah, so true, isn't it? It's like so much of a sensitivity on price point as to how am I going to, how is this time that I've spent consuming this piece of education going to give me the return on investment? And you've nailed it there. And it's this ongoing mentoring I always talk about. It's if I watch or listen to you or do your program, it's not just learning, right? It's going, how can I apply this, for my clients straight away? And it's a beautiful point. I've actually kept all of the notes from the chat here just because I've been typing as we're talking. So I don't know how I've been able to multitask that, but I've done it.
Good way.
Now, another question now is, how has your business evolved? Just a little bit more detail. Is your business still the same as it was before? You kind of touched on it earlier, but did you anything to expand on that point?
Yeah, I think really I really narrowed my focus and my niche in the last couple of years. And one arm of my business has always been business mentoring for female fitness professionals. Reason being, I truly 100% believe wholeheartedly that we need more amazing, badass women in the industry to turn the industry around. And so that's one of my passions, is to help lift up other female fit pros. And then on the other arm of my business is this education to all personal trainers about how to better serve women in the industry. And kind of go where I'm kind of get a sense of where I'm going here. I'm very pro women. And over the last 2 years, I've just seen a need for more female-specific education to go out to personal trainers. And coincidentally, this is probably one of the biggest trends that we're starting to see in the industry at the moment. I think the fitness space is kind of slowly starting to catch up with what's been happening in the athletic space, and then also what's happening in science world. Yeah. So, my big passion as well is really giving personal trainers tons of information about the best and most effective way to train female clients, because at the end of the day, women are not small men with breasts. We have our female sex hormones have a huge impact on the majority of our systems in our body. And if we have personal trainers aren't taking that on board, or if we're not acknowledging that, we're probably not bringing out the best in our female clients. So I'm really on a mission to make sure that women clients are served at the highest level possible.
Yeah, geez, I love it. Yeah, I totally agree on that. Even in the education space, great to see people like yourself, Jean Dugard, Emma Masters, Vanessa Leone, who are also part of this program. Really, really inspiring other women to lead the way. And that's wonderful. On our team, we have a presenter, Kim Peachy, who's been tremendous, one of our best presenters. So yeah, I'm all for that. I'm definitely all for it in a sense of whether I say pro. I'm definitely pro that. I think we need more female leaders, and you're of that ilk. So thank you for sharing that insight. Now, you talked a little bit about that sort of what's trending. So I want to sort of dive in a little bit more on that for this part one of this episode. And you talked about the convergence almost of general populations kind of base fitness and science versus the athletic realm. Can you talk a little bit more about what you feel are the topics that are emerging, currently?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm super biased towards all things female physiology, and under that umbrella would fall things like understanding menstrual cycle health, understanding the stages and changes of females across lifespan. So, for example, understanding the transitional period of perimenopause, understanding menopause, just understanding women in a bit deeper. So that's definitely trending at the moment, and it needs to, because this is a massive gap in the industry within the fitness space, but also in the athletic population. We know this. We know that there is a sex bias towards using male subjects in research. We know that there's a ton of data that is missing out there. And a lot of the exercise prescription recommendations that us fitness professionals use in our businesses are built on research that typically use a young, fit, white male. Yeah. And the old school thought has always been, well, if it works for them, we can just extrapolate the data and it will fit a female. And we now know that that is not the case. And there's tons of examples where that is showing up, that what works for a woman actually doesn't work in the same way for a man. Now, I'm not talking about massive fundamental differences here. I'm talking about nuance. And this, I think, is another thing that's trending through my bias and my lens, is trainers are starting to want to think more critically. They are now starting to understand the concepts better of playing in the gray space. So what I mean by that is trainers are really starting to understand this concept of super personalization. And how can we deliver or execute programs or classes that get people results, but by offering them personalization. So I think that's a trending thing. And then closely related to that is this understanding, and this relates very closely to what we've all experienced post-COVID, is finally having the realization that what happens outside the gym, i.e. what happens to people's sleep quality, stress, nutrition, fundamental movement, their relationships, all of that stuff outside the gym has a direct impact on their ability or inability to get results in the gym. People are looking now towards what's happening in people's lifestyle. So we now have an appreciation that physiological load, or what people are experiencing outside of your gym sessions, has a direct impact on their results or on their performance. And so this is why you're seeing a lot of different education places now offering things like become a sleep coach, understand how stress impacts the female body or the male body, understand how to program in incidental activity, right? All of these other pieces, and now we're starting to realize just how crucial they actually are. And then I think the fourth one here, and again, I'm so biased because this is the lens I'm coming from. So, other people have different perspectives, but I'm seeing a real desire for people to want to understand the science, i.e. they want evidence-based information. I think there's a lot of trainers out there now who are like, you know what, I don't want to be lumped into the same basket as the Instagram trainer. Like, I want to be delivering helpful, but scientific and quality information to my clients. So I think, as a point of difference, that's what some trainers are now starting to edge towards.
Yeah, terrific insights there. Yeah, I'd say it's not just your bias. I'd agree on quite a few of those things there. And what's interesting is that definitely the epigenetics, the environment. So we've looked at, and my whole philosophies now are that it's a collective trauma, collective stress the last sort of 2 years. And then you couple that with the individual way that each of us live our lives. So you've got this collective stress or trauma, individual. And I think there's such a need to be playing in the gears, of if we're training any type of person, is to be quite sensitive to that and really understand, dig deeper than those superficial layers i.e. don't just understand that, sleep is important, but understand why in their context. And that personalization, as you pointed out, is going to be just bigger and bigger. You've got companies like PH360 who are offering these amazing, science-based approaches now to epigenetic health and body typing and personalization. And so we've got obviously Kyle and Cam also on the FitWell platform. But it's not just them. There's this emergence, as you've noted, in this space, and I think it's going to get bigger and bigger. And I'm excited to kind of see it evolve and have experts on this platform on FitWell deliver insights into the idea of the environment, not just that we're stuck with a certain genetical sequencing, but that the environment plays a huge part. And so the internal versus the external environment. So yeah, there's lots to be said about that. And that sort of concludes now our part one with you. It's been fascinating. We could keep going, and we certainly will in our next episode, where we'll focus a little bit more on the FitWell platform, on your sessions and everything else. So that's part one done, and we'll look forward to having you back, Nardia, for part two.
Thank you.